Okay, so let's take a look at how to use Swift language. So basically it has multiple platform support. So if you go to downloads page, you will find the installers for respective operating system. So in case of Mac, you have Xcode that allows you to complete development within Swift. Then you have Ubuntu and also CentOS and Amazon Linux, right? Also there is Windows version, right? You can download this. I have covered how to install and run it within let's say a Windows command prompt or PowerShell. I also covered how to run the installer within Ubuntu and how to set things up. So basically it's a tar source file which you have to move to specific directory within Ubuntu and then set the path to run Swift from command line. Now in case of this particular example, here we are going to use online Swift compiler, which is online Swift playground. It makes use of 5.1 release. So if you check here, you can download the source code once you run it, and also you can sign out if you have logged in for this, right? So currently it allows you to only run the code and not save, etc., just export. So this sign out option is not much use for us, right? So let's take a look at variables. So first thing, we'll try and come up with, let's say, a string, right? And if we put it up here and pass it within print function, and if we run this, now if we run this, it should output the string. Okay, so that was our string variable and also our one of the first program, right? So like every other language, we also have data types. So let's say this was our string. We can add another, like let's say A, which is going to be 22, then var B, which is going to be, let's say, 12.2, right? And let's see var C, which is going to be, let's say, something like 3.14159, right? And if I just copy and paste, let's say A, B, and then C. So basically these three variables can output and get them here. So basically first being our integer, second being our double value, and third being the double as well. So basically it's the float and double, the difference between their capacity, and similarly we can also annotate for them, right? So if I specifically mention float here, right, and then I can go and just assign B equals to whatever the value that we pass, right? So we use this, right? And then if we run this, if we have any issues, it will throw an error and we can view it. Here you see it's double declaration, right? So instead of that, we can simply use equals to symbol and show it, and there you go, that error is gone. Now that's for our some of the data type and how to annotate their type while declaring the variable, right? Now we can take a look at some of the conditions. So let's clear this up, and here let's say I have X variable with value 30, and if I want to have a condition X is greater than 20, then print X is big, right? and then if we run this, you will get the message. Now this was one condition where we have just one print statement. We'll have to use else, then use print x is small, right? Here you see, we can run this and we only get x is big. So if we change 30 value to 3 and if we run this, we get x is small. So this was conditional logic with if else, right? And there is also one more option where we can choose from multiple options. Say something like variable, let's say index has value of 10, and then if I want to switch to particular value which is index, and say my first case being 1, right? And here we print out value is 1. And then case 10 where use a tab to move and value is 10, right? Then comes case default, right, where you have print and then value is default 0, right? Okay, now if we try to run this, here you'll see case default and it says expected pattern. So after this we'll have to also close this. So make sure to close it with your bracket, then run this and let's see what could be the error. So we'll have to take a look at each of them, right? So now one more thing here to note is case default. So instead of case, just have default and then run. It should tell you the current value being 10, right? So we have seen if else, then we have seen switch, then we can take a look at for loop as well. So let's say for loop we will have a basket. So within that we have like array like values. So let's say fruits, then milk, then veggies, and then non-veggies, right? And this is my basket that I can iterate through, right? And then I can print out item, right? And I can run this and I can get all of them through the loop. So this is loop particularly used in case of arrays. There is also one more you can use with, let's say, range. So let's say for I in 1 to 10, right? Hopefully I'm getting the range correct. Then I can print I. Okay, so forgive me if I get this particular range statement wrong. Okay, so there you go, we have our range, right? So here you'll notice that it's not much accessible due to the iframe used. Let me access only up to 7, but you can rest assured that it is showing complete output, right? So we have seen our for loop for arrays and also with range. So there is one more that you can look for, which is the while loop and repeat while loop. So for while loop, let's say I have variable, let's keep the I1 and let's have j. So that's kind of typical with I and j in case of loops that we write. So while I is less than equals to j, right? And then we print let's say value of I. Then in next line, I equals to I plus 1, right? And then we can run this, and how much we have? 1 2 4. The moment it turns 5, it should exit out of while loop. Now similarly, we can also write the program where instead of while we use repeat, right? And we will get rid of this condition at the top and have it at the bottom. So it's not much of difference, just shifting off the condition at the bottom, and we have repeat at top, while condition at bottom, showing same result. If you run this, won't be showing anything different unless you change the condition here, like you start from 5 and reduce back to 1, then you will have something different to show, right? So far we have seen let's say variables, data types, then for loop, then while loop, repeat while loop, if else condition, and also switch. There is one more thing that we can cover, which is going to be arithmetic operators. So let's say variable a is equal to 4, variable b equals to 2. Make sure that you have equal white spacing, otherwise you will notice that it will run error, right? Here see, white spaces needs to be consistent, so have that. Now within print, let me add a plus b. If I run this, it should do the addition, 6, right? Similarly, I can do a minus b. It should show me 2, right? Similarly, what if I choose the operator star for multiplication, right? So plus, minus, multiplication, and then comes your divided by operator, right? And also if you make use of something like 5 and 3, it should be tested with the modulus operator, and you can see the remainder as well. So you can test it out as a part of exercise, right? So that's some of the arithmetic operators. There is also not operator, which is to denote the particular value is not equal to that. So not equals to that one operator. We will take a look at that part later. So for comparison, let's see, let's go with our previous example, and here let's print out a equals to b, right? If we run this, here you see a is not equal to b, which is correct. Now let's take a look at that comparison operator, which is not equal to true, right? So you get the idea where to use that. Now if a is bigger than b, right? So run this and you see true. Similarly, if we run print statement a is less than b, let's have some space, right? Run this and it's false. Then comes your a is greater than equals to b. Again, greater than or equals to is shown, right? So currently it is not letting me go through more than 4 outputs for some reason. So let's test it out. The output is visible, less than or equal to b should be false, right? So I can't view more than 4 outputs for some reason. So I hope that you test this out and view it. Currently it's not letting me go through below that. So that's one thing. So here first we check comparison, then not operator, greater than, less than, greater than equals to, less than equals to. So these two I want you to test out in your command prompt if you have Swift installed, or you are trying on any other Swift playground online where you can see the output properly. Hopefully you can get the output. So we have covered arithmetic operators, comparison operators as well. Swift, we will start with array. So let's say if I create an integer array with say numbers which are 2, 4, 6, 8. Right now, if I want to access this, we can have two methods, one being your array as is. If we run this, it should output, and also individual elements that includes the specific index value. So it starts from 0, 1, 2 and 3. So if we run this, it should output 4, right? So this was for only one data type, because array contains data type of same type within its collection. Similarly, if we consider set also requires the unique data within same data type, right? So if we try and create a set, this of set, we have something like, let's say num set and then equals to, let's say 2, 4, 6, 6, right? And I just want to output the unique values. So set will allow you to do just that. 2, 4, 6 will be in output, right? So if we try and use, let's say, multiple values, it should only output those unique values, right? So that's what set collection do. Then there is also dictionary, which is of multiple data types that comes in key value pair, right? So let's say I have a basket, and within that basket I have like key that says it's a fruit, and then let's say mango. Then I have like say color that says orange, and we close this. Then if we try and print the basket, it should run this, and you get color orange, fruit, and mango, right? So that was your dictionary that you get out of it, right? So it comes with your multiple data types. So I can also have a number in a key value pair, and basically it will let me use the typical JSON database type output within dictionary. Now that we have seen three collection types, we can go for function. So in order to create a function, we use func keyword, then we use the name of function, and within that, let's say we print out our name, right, and then close the function. So this is how we create the function with content in it. Then we also call it with function name. If we run this, it should output what's being sent through with print statement, right? Now this is your typical function without any parameters. So what if you choose to add parameter? So function add num is where you are going to accept, let's say number 1 integer, then number 2 say integer, right? And then inside this I'm going to use, let's say, output of say summation of 2, which is where sum equals to num1 plus num2, right? And make sure that you have some spacing between, otherwise it will just warn you for the same. So print sum. Alternatively, you can also use return sum. So we'll go with the print for now, right? So we got our add num, and we are going to pass, let's say, num1 2, right, and then num2 4, and we should have output 6 if we run this, right? So this is our function with parameters, right? So there are a few other that you can explore, right? Recurring function, then function that specifically calls another function while performing some routine task, right? So basically there are many other things that you can do with function, because a lot of program can be executed with your procedural function way, right? So another thing is our class, right? So before we go there, we can cover a few others like enum and struct. So enum is basically user defined data type. So if I type in enum and then use box, right? So inside that I just want to cover a few cases like something like blue, right? Blue, black, green, right? These are some of the one that I want to cover within our enum box. Now if I want to specifically create a variable that says my box, and let's say it is basically for my data type box, which is enum, right? And if I want to call particular, say box dot blue, right? So that be the case, I can output that particular as well. So color that I want to output with print statement, let's see, print and color of box, right? So simply we use here in case have some space, right? If I run this, color of box blue, because we are specifically pointing to that case from our box.blue case, right? You can change this, experiment with different example and try out how enum works. So basically this is user defined data type. Similarly, there is also a structure where we define a structure, then we extend it with our own example. Then we move to classes that are kind of like your structures, but they have much different use case and are more of object oriented in nature. So let's try out struct example. So struct, right, and then within that I have, let's say, a person. So variable name equals to, and then variable age equals to 0, right? And now that we have defined our person, I can also call another person with extended data from our structure, right? So if I create a variable person1, which should extend our basically structure named person, right? And then what we can do, we can manually set person1 dot name, let's say my name, person1 dot age equals to my age, and then if we try to print it, so name then forward slash, and within that I can use person1 dot name and age, then within that person1 dot age, right? Then quote and close. Okay, hoping that it should be the right way to do that. So let's run and test out. So here there are some errors. So now the reason being, here you'll notice that struct is lowercase, and here you see that error is gone now and we get our output. So we have seen our enum, then we have seen struct. Now let's take a look at class as well, right? So for class, let's hope that this time I don't create same errors. So within basket, let's see, I have variable fruit and also variable num set to 0, right? And here we have the variable, let's say blue basket. So let me type in blue basket and call for basket class. Now if I choose blue basket dot fruit, I can set it for mango, and blue baskets dot number, I can set it for 2, right? And if I choose to, let's say, print this, then I can say the color, let's say fruit is set for, let's say, within this I can simply output blue basket dot fruit and total baskets, and here right, make sure that you have some space in between, and then at the end use double quote, hit enter, and then run. So let's try to find out where we are missing. Have some white space in between, right? So run again, and here you see fruit is mango, total baskets. So okay, so I don't have to specifically copy that number here, it won't output then. So if I run this, it should now show me the number 2, right? So what I've done here is basically I created a class, then added some items to extend, and whenever I created object of that class, I have manually given the values just like I have did with struct, and then output to you. So this comes in handy whenever you create some sort of template of classes and then extend it for your code where you want to reduce the let's say code churning. You don't have to write too many functions or so, just have some standard set of values and you can give to the set of variables and functions and then call them by creating object of that class. So these are some of the basics that you can go through with Swift.